The Student Association is on hiatus, as I was told, and won't come back probably until August when school starts. So we'll go next to parent organization reports.
The first group that will come up is the PTO and then the music sponsors.
Yes, right there. And why don't we wait until they all,
Wait till they filter a little.
that's all right.
I know.
So, what was it too? That he showed up with that they thought was gonna be in the front.
It's not going to be that bad, Kathy.
Oh, I don't think it will be.
What I'll do is the Board of Education received in one of my annual Friday updates, or weekly Friday updates, the letter that was, the invitation that was sent to all the parent groups. So just to keep us on pace tonight, because we do have a full agenda, I'll just kind of lead you through the bullets, and then they all, most of them have provided a handout. The PTO one was in front of you. First things first, Kathy, would you like to acknowledge who the officers for the 2013-14 school year will be?
Yes, President will be Pam Powers, Vice President Sherry Sauer, Secretary Kathy Barcel, Treasurer Renee Busca, and Directors at Large Janelle DiVittorio, Janine Glavis-Cowell, Teresa Jimenez, and Laura Supernot.
Can you provide us a summary of the financials for the year for the PTO?
Well, that's in front of you. I thought that would be difficult to discuss, that you have each item listed as to what the cost was and what was provided, and I felt
okay.
that it was too difficult to discuss without somebody having a visual. For me, I need a visual, so that's what's in front of you.
If you could give the board members just a minute to review the financials. This is basically all the different donations. Is that correct, Kathy? And on
The only income that we took in this year was at the beginning of the year was when we asked for membership drive, and any family could, and any teacher or parent or community member or staff member could join. And so we had, as you can see in the outline, I believe it was 280 members, 15 of which were staff. And then from there, the rest are all our expenses for the year.
Okay. So I'm assuming then the next bullet, and I'll let you just highlight if you want to highlight on a few.
Yes.
Was the major donations or projects accomplished with the school district or with the high school. If you just want to highlight a few that you feel were big partnerships that the PTO worked with the high school or the district.
Well, certainly. Well, we started out, as you can see, the year we gave every staff member a T-shirt kind of welcoming them back. In the past, we've done something like this, and we wanted to do that again. And then we revamped something that had happened prior to my presidency and years on the board, the freshman family open house, which was a huge success. So we invited families that were freshmen to come, and we had Pam Bilesma and all of the student service staff present, and I believe it was very beneficial. Pam and her staff did an excellent job explaining the year in review. I went around, most importantly, and kind of talked with parents, especially those who were new to the district, that they needed to be present for open house, and the parent-teacher conferences were important. Many of them thought that their time was done, that they didn't need to be with their children anymore, and I said quite the contrary. I think staying connected to the school is important, and I think that connection was made, and they had a face and a name. Many of our members were present, so I think that was a highlight. And then, of course, we're always present for the open house. We had 5 meetings, and this year we tried to do something to help bring more membership and or give information. You can see we had 5 speakers, and they donated their time. There was no fee involved, and we, very timely, Christine Sutton in particular, after the death of the student, ironically, or most importantly, probably happened, there was a discussion about stress and depression. I think it was very beneficial for the parents in the room. And then many people didn't know what the library did, for instance, and they thought it would be a very dull topic, and quite frankly, it was a lot of conversation. And then We were able to speak about the students, the J.K. Braid students. I'm sure you know about them in March. And then I bypassed Beth Augustine in September. She did helpful tips for RB parents, again, those that were especially new. And finally, our principal gave a talk about how to build independence and problem-solving skills in adolescence. And then fast forward, we're present at Veterans Day, providing the breakfast. Again, I think very important. We provided almost $4,000 in grants to teachers. The staff appreciation luncheon in February. The co-promotion of the topic about substance abuse in our community with student services happened in February. Principal requests were used for field trips. We did the day of service, a huge response. We had over 225 students participate, 60 adult volunteers, both teachers, staff, and parents, and 22 projects in 5 towns were involved. And then finally, we did help with the senior award night and then prom.
Great. Thank you very much, Kathy. The next bullet is an update on number 7. NOSA in the policy 890. That's the board policy that helps govern our parent organizations, and number 7 was the maintenance of a public website. I did verify today you're linked right through the Riverside Brookfield High School website.
Correct.
Your copy of the bylaws, and your financials are posted.
Yes.
So I believe that you are maintaining it, list next year's officers already, so.
And Alicia Duval already emailed us the next contact person who we will be sending our information. It goes to, or we did in the next day. So it's up and posted the day after our
Well,
meeting.
now you can get a name with a face, because that's Mr. Fisher. I think the last bullet and the most important bullet that the board would be interested in hearing is, was there any challenges that the PTO faced in 2012-13 that the board of the district can review or provide assistance with? Or any difficulties that help parents volunteer and donate their time or to be a member of a PTO? Is there any kind of feedback for the board or for the administration?
I think your support, continued. I think we talked about using the outside bullet, to maybe publicize, maybe having it on your website, how things come up on the very front. We've often talked about that, parents don't like to have to travel to things, so when something comes up on the very front of the website would be helpful.
Did you have any challenges or any issues with anything else?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much,
You're
Kathy.
welcome.
Does the board have any questions for the PTO?
Great job.
Thank you.
Keep that, are you gonna do the freshman thing, the freshman?
I do not have,
Family
I've
class?
been here for 6 years, but I have a break next year, so I have suggested to the new board that they do.
Okay.
I currently will have only an 8th grader, and then the rest are in college, so I will not be here next year.
Thank you. Next, we have the RB Music sponsors, and I have their summary right here. You can take, read that way. It should be just in case you- Ms. Hahn, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The co-chairperson is Elizabeth Hahn tonight, presenting for the RBH music sponsors. Ms. Hahn, do you want to touch on who the officers for 2013-14 are?
Our officers, we are actually a part of PTO. We are a section of PTO. And our chairperson next year is Doris Perry. Co-chairperson is Olga Androulis. Vice chairperson is Jamie Wilson. Secretary Diane McClellan. And our treasurer is Lisa Nortier.
Great. How about a summary of financials?
If you turn to the back, you can see there's a statement. Our treasurer is Kathleen, this year has been, and for the last 2 years has been Kathleen Keene. She's done a fabulous job of keeping our books all together. You can see that our fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th. And you can see that our total income was a little around $13,000. But if you flip over the next page, you can see our expenses were almost $12,000, with cash balance from the previous year of $1,835. The cash balance as of this week is $2,973. We still have a great deal of bills. Our biggest expenses happen to be at the end of the year. We have the Apollo Awards, which are the student awards that we fund, and so I have bills at home sitting on my desk for $2,452, so we have about $521 left.
Great. Any major donations or projects you'd like to highlight?
Sure. If you flip to the next page, you can see that the music sponsors is really, we are the people that are on the ground taking care of the students in the music department. Our biggest challenge is we fit all the students every year for the marching uniforms. Last year there was 120 students we fitted for uniforms. We chaperone the July 4th parade and the von Steuben Day parade, and in July it gets incredibly hot, so we take care of them. We also provide water and support at football games, and we provide the refreshments for the summer marching camp and also for the 8th grade night. So when the 8th grades come for band night and also for choir during the day, we provide that. This is our second year doing the Junior IMEA Festival. That is the regional for the region. We arrange and organize this day for the students. There are 70 directors and 450 students. We coordinate, and then we provide lunch and breakfast for them, and we coordinate activities in the afternoon. There's about over 1,000 people at the concert in the gym in the afternoon. During the year, we have approximately seven concerts for band and choir. That does not include orchestra or jazz. Again, we fit and size all the concert attire for the students, and we organize the receptions for the concert. We have over 300 people attending the receptions. Our holiday concerts, the two of them, there's 400 people for each. In Apollo, there's about 400 people. We're also in charge of handling the fundraising for choir. The choir trip this year, next year it'll be for band. We help the students, or we organize the fundraisers, and then the money that the students raise goes back into their accounts so that they can reduce the costs and go on these field trips. We had an amazing trip to San Antonio and Austin this year with the choir. It was a wonderful educational experience. The Apollo Awards is our biggest event, and it's in May. We provide music awards for 280 students, approximately. I think there's 280 students this year. And also, we fund our drum majors, which are the ones that lead our marching band in the fall, to go to Ball State University. That's the camp that trains them to lead the marching band. That's their only training is that week. And we also provide $50 scholarships for students to attend camp.
Thank you. The update on number 7, then I will assume you're tied in with the PTO and the
Yes,
webpage and all that.
we have our minutes posted on the website.
And you do post the financials on the website as well?
I didn't realize we had to post the financials. I can do that immediately.
That'd be
'cause
great.
We
It
have,
just helps with transparency, was
I-
one thing the board asked.
right, I have the financials for the last 2 years that can be posted.
Thank you. The last thing and the most important thing, as I stated earlier, what challenges did the organization face in 2012-13 that the board or the district can assist, or at least listen to your feedback and work on things in the future?
I greatly appreciate the support of the board, and I think the challenges we face are the same challenges as that all the parent organizations face. Fundraising was very difficult this year. We are able to pay our expenses this year, but we have a limited amount left over. I think what we have to do in the future is we have to reassess our fundraising goals and also and our yearly expenses. So we have to try and maybe work with the people in the music department and rearrange Apollo Awards. And also, our students use the fundraising opportunity not so much to raise funds for the department, but for themselves, for either their band trip or their choir trip, and I think we need to change that so that they can raise some funds that will go to benefiting all the students as opposed to themselves just for trips. We have some big expenses coming up in the future. uniforms and concert attires. Our band uniforms, our existing band uniforms, are older than our incoming sophomores. So they're over 16 years old. The cost for new uniforms for 200 students is approximately $60,000. Concert tuxedos and long black skirts, we were short of those this year for concert attire, and we came up with some creative strategies to try and make sure every student got a skirt or a tuxedo so that they could play. I'd like to mention that we have an amazing group of volunteers. When we're asked to have our volunteers come and donate items for the different receptions, our parents are wonderful. I think we need more volunteers, though, to help with chairing fundraising activities, because I spent a lot of my time running the fundraisers, and it's difficult to get volunteers now. And I think it's just because everybody's so busy and so involved. Any questions?
The the band uniforms and concert tuxedos, I'd asked that Pam and Tim, you start looking into. I don't know if there's a way of phasing this project in with the uniforms. My previous experience with districts is that usually is a big expense, and you pretty much, unless you're able to find matching uniforms, it's pretty tough to phase that in, so we need to start planning for that.
Yeah, we were talking, I was actually talking with Mr. Cindy about phasing them in a few over the years, so that if we buy a certain number one year, then we can buy the next and phase them in over time as opposed to one lump sum.
Okay.
I'd really like the other, since now that we're associated with patrons, or not patrons, with PTO, I think we could possibly look at alternative funding sources, either through other charitable organizations or also through corporations that may be interested. For example, Pepsi corporation actually paid $60,000 for a high school to get new uniforms.
Really?
So there
Okay.
are funding opportunities out there that can be explored.
Well, Mr. McGinnis will be calling you because we're starting the budget process, and we need to start figuring this plan out. So I don't want, the band is, the mayors have all called and reached out for the 4th of July parades, the job they do at the Friday night football games, and the way they represent this high school. We want to make sure they look first class because they put on a first class performance. So we'll work on that.
Thank you.
Was there any other questions for the music sponsors? Thank you very much. Next, we have the Booster Club. And if I'm not mistaken, Chris and Tony are both co-presidents, or is it you're president and he's vice president? I don't know how that works out.
He's guilty on the president for at least 4 more years.
Okay, is Tony Garvey president?
Yes,
All right, Mr. Garvey, how are you this evening?
I'm just wonderful. How are you?
Do you want to start with the officers for 2013-14?
My first vice president, Chris Agnew, who just did the handouts. Our second vice president, Rod Howe, is sitting next to him in the back. Our treasurer, Chuck Graining, is back there somewhere. And our secretary, Gina Chapp, unfortunately couldn't be here tonight.
Okay, great. Summary of financials?
You have the report in front of you. One of the things we've done this year is we've retained the services of a new outside accounting service provider, Mr. Stan Paddock of Paddock and Associates, who's in the back, who prepared those financial reports for you. We just had a chance to sit down a couple minutes before the meeting and go over them, so if you have any questions, we can do our best to answer them. The first report you have there is a 12-month summary report for December 1st, ending December 31st, 2012, and then you have a second report that covers the first 4 months of 2013.
Any questions, board? Major donations projects accomplished with the school district during the 2012-13 school year.
Well, as you can see from the financial report, the revenues for the two, covering the two reports are approximately $113,000. And we've also, during those same periods, given out a little over $58,000 in grants and contributions back to the athletic program at RB High School. Some of the things that we've done this last school year, we've revised our bylaws to comply with the school board's policy on parent organizations. We've obtained liability insurance for the Booster Club that covers all of our operations, theft, medical, board of directors coverage for the year. We've obtained our own tax exempt status from the state and federal government. In the past, we were using the school's tax exempt status, but we've obtained that on our own now for our organization. We created an online spiritware sales shop that's linked to our website where people can order our spiritware merchandise, and we've also obtained credit card sales service provider too, so we can do credit card transactions for those merchandise purchases. Programs that we've continued to sponsor throughout the year. We fund the Athlete of the Week program. Every week, a male and a female student athlete are given a T-shirt and a gift card. We fund and sponsor the Senior Athletic Awards banquet. That banquet this year, we had a total of 219 guests attending, including 89 athletes. We purchased and issued 165 awards to our student athletes in the form of financial assistance. We provided $15,000 towards the cost of the new sign that's out on the corner of First and Ridgewood, $4,000 to the football team for uniform pads and belts, $800 to the girls' golf team for golf carts, $3,000 to the J. Kyle Braid Leadership Group to sponsor their student athletes' trips to Colorado, $6,000 to the boys' soccer team for new uniforms, $4,200 for new portable bleachers in the field house, $1,600 to the boys' baseball team for new uniform pants, $2,500 to the girls' cheer team for new uniforms, $1,100 to the girls' softball team for new pants and belts, $5,000 to the boys and girls swim team for new warm-ups, and $500 to the volleyball team for a new iPad and software to keep track of their statistics.
That's great, thank you. An update on number 7 in policy 890 regarding the agreement to maintain a public website. I was on there today. It links right from the RBHS website page in athletics. I noticed that you have your bylaws posted, your financials, your minutes, and agendas. So they are in compliance with that. Challenges or feedback for the board and the administration that you faced through 2012 and 13?
Well, it's been a very successful year. There's been a lot of hard work put in by a lot of people. I mean, first of all, I'm very happy for the support we have received from the administration, from Mr. Ardastro and the athletic department, all the coaches that we've worked with. We've had a lot of successful events this year, working in conjunction with those coaches and having Art help us get in contact with people. Art is our liaison to the coaches and the parents, and we had some big events this year. We had the cheer sectional, which was a full day event, which was huge this year. That took a lot of coordination, a lot of effort. It was very successful. In fact, so successful that I think we're doing it again next year. Swim team, girls volleyball, age group gymnastics, wrestling team, all of them. When they all had tournaments here or had special events, we got some really good help. The one thing we need more of is more help, and we could use some more volunteers. I didn't cover our membership numbers, but just to give you an indication, I don't have much record keeping for where it was before, but this year we had 250 members in the Booster Club, so we're using that as a starting point for next year. Our goal is to improve and get that number to increase and try and get more people to step up and help us out with our fundraising activities.
Great. Questions from the board?
I just want to say something that compare a year ago to now, it is like night and day. Just seeing it, I was at the Boosters Golf outing to see the lines of carts out there and the people involved and enjoying themselves, but also being able to see in the football field over there how you guys are working the concessions and the ability for me to go up to you all the time and say, how many members you have here, and you can write it off to me real fast. It just, you gotta commend this, the leadership team and how you guys really turned this around to make this a really strong organization. And also, this organization that cares and supports RB athletics. I think it's real good part. I was at the awards banquet, Johnny, I think you were there too, and you could see, you know, the parents proud to see their kids getting the awards that they got, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's totally first class.
Thank you.
And June 21st is the golf outing?
June 21st in the golf outing, our biggest fundraiser of the year, so.
And I'll be working what hole, I forgot. So,
Can you just explain what are the fundraising income activities that you do and?
The fundraising income activities?
And what do you have left this year that's gonna hopefully,
Well, our primary fundraiser, well, that's the, you know, that report that started, the 12-month report at first, and probably included the golf outing from last year, so. Last year's golf outing brought in approximately, our profit was approximately $14,000 from that golf outing silent auction. That started off the year for us. Our membership program, selling memberships, is a fundraising activity for us. Selling the spirit wear merchandise that we offer. And the biggest one is concession sales. We try and cover every major event that we can here at the school, the tournaments, the ones that are good money makers, and those are the primary ways that we're making money. I'd say the concessions is probably the biggest, but it's also probably the most demanding of our time consuming.
thank you.
Thank you to all the boosters that are here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Garvey.
Thank you very much.
Last group is the RBEF, Riverside Brookfield Educational Foundation. Ms. Joanne Cozy. Thank you, Mr. Franco. Let's do this. And I'll take one of these. Let's do, should be 3 or 4 of these, John. One of each. Matt, take those that way. Just 4 this way. Four that way. Ms. Cozy, why don't you start with the officers for the 2013-14 school year?
Actually, they haven't been elected as of yet. That happens at our June meeting. So what you have before you are the current officers, which would be myself as president, Tony Mazio as treasurer. We don't have a vice president, and due to illness, our secretary needed to resign. So we've been having a secretary pro tem for each meeting. You also have the list of our 7 trustees, Mr. Franco being one of them, and when their term ends.
Thank you. A summary of the financials for the 2012-13 school year.
Okay, you have that in front of you, and the last approved financial is in February, and March, April, and May financial statements will be posted pending approval at the June meeting. They were not approved at our May meeting because our May meeting actually was a special meeting where we worked on our grants. And all will updated at the close of our fiscal year, which ends June 30th, 2013. And that information will be all on our website. We also changed accountants. Mr. Paddock is ours also.
Okay. Any questions, board? Major donations, projects accomplished with the school district during 2012-13 school year.
Okay, we only have one fundraising effort, and that's our telethon, which normally is in October. We had planned it for October 2012. However, when we had originally set the date, we did not realize that it was a 3-day weekend, and when we discovered that there was going to be a lot of people gone, and it would be difficult to, get volunteers. A lot of people were going on college searches, So we decided to change the date, and we moved it to February, and we found actually that the February date was better, so that for next year, we're scheduling it for February also. We had $25,151 pledged. To date, we've received $23,121, and of this amount, $2,500 are restricted fees. And if you have any questions on the restricted fees, I'd be glad to explain that.
So that's not showing up in here.
It is in the total amount pledged, but
So where would I find that on your financial statement?
don't we have, oh, if you go to the third page where you see the Kristen First Scholarship, the Dawn Heller, those fees are, we received monies, and they are restricted because they are going into those two scholarships.
So when people contribute to the telethon, where does that money go?
That goes into the grants, for grants.
So I don't see a $21,000 or $23,000 in grants.
Joanne, I think maybe an easier way to answer that would be just when the money's received, is it put into the PNC account, First American account, or is it into a specific account?
Tony just did this, handed this in today, and I must apologize that he did not give everything. Don't we have,
Part of it is that the three statements haven't been from March, April.
don't we have a copy of the February one?
That's the February one right there.
So
Okay,
this
but
is-
it should
this is
have the different.
One month of
So this is
financial
not up to
information.
date as what we receive from other groups.
Right.
We still have to approve the other ones. because-
When was your last meeting?
The actual meeting where we conducted business was in April. We did not approve the minutes in May because, excuse me, the May meeting was strictly on disbursements of grant funds.
So if you had an April meeting, you had financials in that meeting, I only see a February statement.
I think the reason he didn't turn that in is because they were not approved.
But you had an April meeting, which they
Yes.
would have been at those,
And they approved the February ones at that time.
We had so much time trying to get ready for the telethon and then afterwards dispersing the funds, so much time spent with that, the approving those.
So this statement's from February, so
Right.
it wouldn't show any, it wouldn't show the money received anyways from the telethon, because the telethon wasn't until February.
Right.
So once the March, April, May is approved, we should be able to see that on the website,
Yes,
the
as soon
summary
as,
of the
as soon as
financials.
they're approved at the June meeting, this will all be on the website.
so at the June committee of the whole, we could receive a completed report for 2013.
If you would like it separate, I mean, it'll be on the website.
Yeah, I'd like to see it, so.
Do you do anything on a yearly basis, like for 2012? Is there something that summarizes? Because, I've been looking throughout the year, and you have these posted for each month. Do you have any type of accumulated QuickBooks or anything that,
You'd have to talk to Tony Mazio on that,
okay?
because with the switching, we had a changeover of treasurers, so he's operating differently in the changeover of accountants. So Tony actually is the best one to talk about that. If you would like, I would ask him, I'll ask him to get in touch with you, or would you like him to get in touch with you?
Since you're using the same accountant, could you produce a similar statement like the boosters received? Is that what more you're looking for?
I'm just looking at something from February.
They provide us who got individual things, either they gave us summaries, they read us the difference. The music says right on there, some of the information still hasn't been updated. I don't think we should set a higher standard for one group than the other. Is there some part of the policy they're not complying with, Kevin?
I'm just asking for the summary of the financials that was sent in the invitation
Okay,
for the 2012-13 school year. Right now, I believe they're in compliance.
okay,
Once they get these 3 months posted, they
Right.
should be in compliance.
okay. And if they comply by putting it on their website, right?
Correct. That's the next question, is the number 7. Maintaining the public website, which I verified again today. Their bylaws are posted. The meetings that were approved, February is the last one that's up there, as well as the financials.
I think there's another thing that you have to consider too, that seeing as the grant monies were just dispersed, there are some that will be returned, so there'll be a constant adjustment over the next few months with some of the checks that are returned to keep our balances correct. And we're working very hard to make sure that anybody who gets a check, it's going where it should. We're working on the reimbursements, that we have verification of anybody who gets a check that's considered a reimbursement.
So the invitation's asking for the school year ending at the end of June 2013?
It just says a summary of your financials for 2012-13 school year.
So they should have more months than the one going backwards, January, December, November, October?
I believe those are posted on their website.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think the only ones we're missing are March, April, May on the website.
I think they're referencing as just a snapshot for this meeting, kind of summarizing your financials for the school year.
Okay.
That's it. The public website is maintained. Challenges your organization faced in 2012-13 that the board or district can review or provide assistance with?
No, we seem to have had a very successful telethon. We got more corporate sponsorship than ever, and actually this year we raised more than last year, and we've been really pleased at the amount that's come in as opposed to the amount pledged is really very good. We didn't expect, usually you have a bigger difference. So we still have some premiums that need to be picked up, but we keep on trying to get rid of them.
So for the record, by the end of June, we should have 12 and 13
Yeah, it'll be
financials.
yeah.
For the record, you're stating right now that we will have that in there.
Yes, because our fiscal year ends June 30th, 2013. After that point, after our meeting when we approve, I believe our next meeting is June 19th, that will be the meeting where we will approve these past financial statements, monthly ones, and then they will be posted, and then our year-end statement will be available.
Well,
And
it won't be available until into July or after, right?
Yeah, because our fiscal year,
Just like ours is,
Right.
right? The school, our fiscal year ends June 30th
Yeah.
of 2013, and our financials
Well, I don't want her
aren't
to
available
promise
after.
something that's not going to be available.
No,
So you're going to comply with our policy, Joanne, when it's available, you'll post it?
yes, that's what we've
Thank
been
you.
doing. The only reason that
Appreciate
we've been behind is because, as I said, our May meeting was strictly to disperse the grants. We had 65 grant applications this year, which is a very large number to read through and sift through and make sure that all the information is there. And we're very happy that we were able to give as much money as we were able to give. And our priority on the grants is always the students first, and then we go on to the faculty and staff.
It says on your sheet you did 19,000, approximately 19,200 in grants dispersed, 45 grants.
Right.
Do you want to highlight any big ones that maybe you worked with the district or with?
Well, the Kyle Braid, there's a few leadership workshops that students are going to, and some trips that some of them are taking. And whenever we give a grant, we always ask that the students come, or faculty and staff come back the following year and let us know what they garnered out of this trip or workshop. It's very gratifying to see how they write them, and I will just take one section out from one young man who wrote that he's at a pivotal point in his education. He's 15 years old. And
So
I
the-
thought that was,
The grant money's dispersed to 19,223.
Right.
Is that coming from the telethon?
right.
Or is that coming from the special funds that you're supposed to be managing?
No, that's, the grants, the monies are strictly from the telethon.
And who's overseeing the special monies that you have, the special funds?
The board as a whole. We have, as an example, the Christian First Scholarship. That is an independent scholarship set up by the First Family, and First Family, that's what they are. The First Family, in memory of their daughter who was a student here and she was a tennis player. They have stipulated that a scholarship be given yearly to a girl tennis player, and that person is to be selected by the girls' tennis coach. They are funding that separately, and we oversee it.
By the way, your accountant gave you all the reports on your webpage. Your reports on your webpage is through May, and I presume it was Salem Bear who got it,
Yes,
because it's listed right on your report on your website.
yeah. And the same with the Gwynn Scholarship. That was established in memory of Robert Gwynn, a Riverside resident who had been very generous to the foundation. And upon his death, his heirs asked us to handle this and give a scholarship. So that's mainly what we do. And the Otto Hawk one was a long-standing one. He was a former industrial arts teacher here. And the only thing we had to do is update some of the wording on it, because he said it had to be done by the vocational ed chairman. Well, we no longer have that. So, but we oversee the money. We try and make as much money. Unfortunately, CDs are not making what they used to make, so our interest on these is very small.
Okay.
Board, any questions?
Sometime a few months back, there was, Mr. Roebling asked to see certain records. How did that ever get resolved?
Well, I would tell you, the board of the foundation, Mr. Roebling made his presentation, his request. We did not act on it immediately. We did take some advice. We had some legal advice, and we were advised no, so we voted no to not show it. It was a board decision. It was not an individual decision.
So if someone wanted to make a request to review the records of the foundation, is it a closed book?
Well, I think that really basically what they want is on our website.
Okay. And it goes back to how far last year?
I don't understand your question.
How far back do the financials go on the website?
They go back pretty far. I think they're at least into 2012.
So
And I
just-
imagine that we could find more. I mean, if you're asking about 7 or 8 years ago, no.
The last 3 years, maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay.
That we've been, that the website has come about.
What do we plan to do in our policy, Kevin? Thought we told them they had to start at that, they can go forward.
An agreement to maintain and protect its own finances, be proper fiscal responsibility. Public website provides a list of current officers, monthly and quarterly financial reports, account balances, payables, et cetera, and a copy of the organization's annual IRS 990.
So they're following our policy, right?
What I verified today is that they are compliant.
I'd like to make 2 points. One is, and I've said it before, we've put some burdens on our parent groups. I think they've done a nice job complying. This group's complying. I don't think the board should take a position on some individual in the community who is trying to get a parent organization to do something. I think we're opening ourselves up, because, what's the next one? Somebody going to want to come in and have a problem with the PTO or the boosters. I think we set policy, which we did. Our policy is much more comprehensive than any policy that we've seen in the state. The parent groups are following that policy. Kevin's committed to that, and I think we're going down a slippery slope if we're bringing up, people in the public who have wanted something. It's not either our duty to do that, and I don't think we should take a position about what this group or anything group should do, that how they run it, unless it doesn't comply with our policy.
As I recall, there was no vote. We're not voting on anything. The board member is simply asking a question, and it's certainly his right to do it. Tim, I think you're sort of stretching out or reading his mind about what he's trying to do. He's asking a simple question. I see nothing wrong with it.
But it's our job to set policy, make sure the policy is filed. I said this before, I think we should be very careful about how we're trying to tell an outside organization to manage itself. We've set policy. If those groups are following the policy, I think that's where we should draw the line on how we ask them or tell them to do things.
He's asking a question.
My concern about the financials is, your biggest fundraiser is the telethon. You give me financials at the end of May that doesn't even show the financials for the telethon. And you tell me that's your major fundraiser. I have a concern about that. And if you had a meeting and everything else like that, if you're doing it every month, and your telethon was in February, we're at the end of May now, at least should have been showing up and showing us.
That is not what the policy says.
Well, I'm telling you right now, what they're
Policy says
giving me as
something different.
what they're giving me as financial information is not the financial information that's complete. The other groups gave us complete financial information on what they're doing.
Again, it's not a question of what they did or what they didn't do.
Excuse me, it's one board member and another board member expressing concern, or expressing their opinion.
Well,
All right,
again-
and you've already expressed your opinion on it.
I'll express it again,
mine.
since you editorialized me again, because you are one board member. You don't have any more say-so than me on this. Our duty is to set policy and see if people follow it. If one group came in with 12 boxes of information, it doesn't mean the next one has to. What we have to do is say, what's the policy, and is the group following it? We asked Kevin, he read it, they have to do a report by the end of the year, which is in June. It'd be like saying, why don't we have our report done right now? Okay? And I just think we should just be, people have done a lot, they've done what they asked, they're complying with the policy. I think we should say thank you, and please post your report at the end of the year like the policy says.
Tim, we can ask questions beyond any policy. She doesn't want to answer the question, it's certainly her right, but you're basically trying to censor other boards members asking a question. Let her decline to answer it.
I haven't declined to
Laura Rusk
answer
is not
anything.
here. She talks all the time. Mike hardly ever talks. I want to hear him talk and ask a question, because he asks good questions. I don't think it's...
May I interject at this point?
Certainly.
I have no problem with Mike Welch's question. It's a legitimate question that probably has been hovering, and he answered it. I mean, I answered it to the best of my knowledge. You must understand, when a decision comes from the RBEF, it is not a Joanne Cozy decision. It is a decision voted on by all the trustees of that board. Do I always agree with it? No. But I go along with what the majority rules. That's how it works. Mr. Cindy, I understand why you are questioning why an event that was held in February, we do not have the financial report in front of you tonight in May. That is because it works a little bit different. We don't get the money in all that night. We didn't make out our checks until last week. So it's a little bit difficult to have given you a report much earlier. What we want to give you is a very comprehensive report and a complete report. So if you will bear with us, it's not a matter of holding anything back. It's a matter of giving you the right information and the complete information. I hope that answers your question.
Any other board comment? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, we're going to move on to superintendents.
Can we just make any other comments
Sure,
outside of them answering questions?
sure.
I mean, it took,
You're done. You can go.
it took like more than a year to get this item on the agenda. And I think since we hashed this out a year ago or more, I think all these groups have moved leaps and bounds forwards in trying to comply. So I'm very happy with the progress of all of them. And, you know, I understand they might have the same accountant, but they all have different kinds of reports. But I just think we've moved leaps and bounds in the transparency and the parent organizations and the websites and the complying with the policy. I just wasn't so happy that it took almost 2 years or whatever it took to move that forward, but I think the board should be pleased at the progress we've made in 1 year. It doesn't mean there's no need for improvement, but
All right, anybody else?